Hey, this is Majin, and here's my comic pull for July 4th, 2018. I have a lot of stuff today. We have Get a Robo De-Evolution, the last 3 minutes of the universe. This is, for those of you who don't know, Get a Robo is a robot series created by the guy Go Nagai, and he's really like a really pervy guy who was really instrumental years ago when he created like Great Mazinga, Get a Robo, Devilman, and Cutie Honey, and it's just like tons of other books and stories. Revolutionized things in terms of the way types of stories that were written. Plus, so he did a lot of pervy stuff, especially in like mangas like Violence Jack. Now, Get a Robo I really like the art style. It's more. I mean, yeah, it still has certain elements of traditional, the manga like shonen stuff, but it's a lot more mature, and it's, as you can see, right from the beginning, somebody gets blown in half type thing. Great. I read a little bit of this, the first chapter. I really liked it, so I'm looking forward to finishing it, the first volume at least. Then we have Air Gear number 37 by Oh Great. I'm so far behind on this. I'm like over 20 volumes behind. The problem was it just wasn't coming out on a timely manner. Then, up comes next, Satan's Secretary. This, I'm as you can see, I'm still partway through. It's a jacked up story because the secretary makes even, like, she's so efficient that she scares Satan. So, that's awesome. Then comes the Elder Sister-like One. Beautiful. This is just such a beautiful story. And then I got a light novel. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wonder the dungeon. So the basic premise is somebody dies and is reborn as a vending machine in a dungeon, and he can't move. And he can only stock things that he has purchased before in his real world. And eventually, I guess he meets somebody, and she takes him from place to place. I wasn't going to buy this at all, but a friend of mine said that this was really, really funny. So I took the plunge and I bought volume 1. I'm actually, it's one of those things that there's too many of these reincarnated stories, but this one just seems so whacked out crazy that I just had to try it. All right, on to the comics. We have the wedding issue for Batman number 50. Now, I'm kind of torn with this because, on one hand, I knew exactly that this wedding could never have happened. And, there's just too many issues. Like, if Bruce married Selina, then, why is Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, marrying a known criminal? And then you see Batman and Catwoman, then you can connect the dots, really easily as to what's going on. Now, this issue is basically like here's what the start, where they're on the rooftop fighting, and then it goes to some really like pinup pages, and some are good, some of them are not so good, and then at the same time you get a letter that's being written. Bruce is writing to Selina, and Selina's writing to Bruce. So here's the Bruce, and here's the Selina one, and then you get more story, and then you get more pinups. Part of me thinks that this is kind of lazy. Don King's done this so many times that it's not even like a cool concept anymore. It's just, okay, he's just going back to the same thing that he's been doing how many other issues ago. The positive thing, though, is you do get some nice artwork every now and then. You may not like everything, but there's enough good creators that there's enough good pictures, I think, that make it worth it. But at the same time, I just think all they're doing is they're just kind of like padding the story. And it's kind of like, it's like, come on already. It gets to that point. Especially when the letters are basically mirroring each other almost in thought, except for like Bruce goes, so remember we met on the boat, and this is what happened. And then Selena's like, well, we met on the street, and I'm like, where were you two guys? Did you guys actually really meet each other? Because you can't even get that story correct. And then, so it's like basically he's, in a sense, he's writing two viewpoints, but it's the mirror of each other. And that's why I'm thinking that it's kind of lazy now. It's not unique and it's not that cool. But, as expected, spoiler alert, well, it was actually spoiled yesterday by the Wall Street, I think it's, the Wall Street Journal, or, and, they didn't get married. And it basically boils down to Bane doing, like, he broke Batman. Part of me thinks that he didn't really break Batman, he saved Batman, because if Batman really did go through with this wedding, and even Selena mentions this, it's like, you're not gonna be Batman anymore. You're not gonna do the things that you need to do because you're happy now. You're a different person now, and the world needs Batman. So so from that standpoint, I'm like, how did you break Batman? He'll get over it. Maybe if they got married and then, he had kids and then you did something, then maybe I can see, all right, you broke him then, because then you gave him the taste of happiness and then you snatched it from him, but this taste of happiness is nothing, and to me, all this, and of course Catwoman #1 came out today. So to me, all of this nonsense, this build up to the wedding, it's just, to me, it's just basically, all you did was you basically did advertising for Catwoman #1, Oh yeah, and the other thing too, I'm thinking, is if Selena was married, then what would have happened was, she could have learned everything. You know what I mean? She could have learned superhero identities. She could have, done tremendous damage. She would have learned all of the superhero secrets. But yet, you kind of copped out early. And you didn't give her that option, that chance. So, I guess it just kind of shows how stupid Bane is, too. Okay, next up is Brimstone. I kind of like the concept in the sense this is like a DC version of Ghost Rider. Person makes a deal with the devil and then realizes that, whoops, I shouldn't have done that because that really wasn't a good deal to begin with. And now what he's doing is he's like, well, I kind of jacked up my life. I jacked up the life of my town. I've heard there's other people that are doing the same thing, so I'm going to go on a cross-country quest, kind of like Supernatural, to beat all these people. And he meets somebody right from the very beginning who is involved in this whole nonsense. And then they go to a town where they have to fight a creature. And I'm kind of going, well, on one hand, I'm kind of curious to see what type of creatures they come up with. But on the other hand, I'm just going, I don't want to see a book where they're just going from town to town to town to, destroy evil, like the other people that made these deals. To me, that doesn't seem interesting in the long haul. 4 issues, 5 issues, 6 issues, maybe. But not in the long haul. To me, it just seems kind of boring because it's going to be the same. It's basically Power Rangers. He comes into town, he sees the monster, they fight, and he beats them, and they go to the next town. So I don't know how long I'm going to keep up with that. Justice League #3. Okay, we learned the secret about the ultraviolet ring, and I just immediately stopped caring. You see Joker, Lex, and people trying to do stuff in the background, mostly them just staring and maybe a few words. And to me, I don't know, to me this seems like it's this huge event, and none of it's making sense. Now, I get certain parts of it. I get, there's a crack in the universe thing, there's the Great Wall, got jacked up. Evil stuff is pouring through, the end of the universe is coming. But to me, it's just like there's nothing that we can really connect to. There's nothing that's relatable, because everybody's just spread out across the universe doing their nonsense and then they meet again, type thing. And I guess part of me is thinking that it's just happening so quickly. It's just they're going from one thing to another thing without properly explaining stuff at times. And again, I have a feeling this is the result of, well, we got to finish it within so many issues because we got to go into the next storyline because of the trade. And when you introduce this new concept of, well, there's a whole new range of colors type thing, I'm like, come on, sometimes, less is better. But, I don't know. I am not enjoying this at all. To me, this is just, I don't know. To me, it's just a bunch of noise. I don't really want to go over the unexpected. I don't know why I bought this. It was just utter trash. Just, I mean, to me, it was just, there's some books that just should never have been made. And this is just one of those books that just should not have. I'm finding that a bunch of these new age of heroes, they're just should never have been created in the first place. It's like DC tried to be slick and cool, and they just, some of these heroes are just, they're not even worth our time, is the problem. I appreciate that there's new characters, but, when you just throw characters out there, and you throw them in this, it's the end of the world that nobody knows about scenarios, and then there's no time to build up really who they are. At least Sideways, even though I have my issues with Sideways, we get to learn who he is. This is here's a team of unexpected heroes, and who are they? I mean, this issue is dealing with him, Neon, but even then, I'm like, who cares? It's like you're giving not even 2 pages of who he is. It's just, I was an artist, and I was into the excess of sex and drugs and alcohol and everything, and then I lost my creativity, so I went to the dark arts, and then they couldn't control it. That's his backstory. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just nothing to it. We saw the beginning and we went to the end, and now he's a troubled superhero who's got to save the world, and it's like, please, there's no grounding. There's nothing to make us go, I can identify with these characters. And I don't even necessarily mean with gender or male, female, sexual identity. It's just, there's just nothing that can really connect us because we don't go through the process. It's one panel, he's at a party with all these people fawning over him. The next panel, he's in bed with these people. And then the next panel, he's already performing dark arts type thing. So you can't identify with this character. There's nothing to make us like him. It's just one thing to the next. It's like a very high overview. We can't even sympathize with him. We don't see him go through the trouble of, I'm going crazy because I can't come up with a good idea, and I'm losing money, and I'm losing the fame, I'm losing the popularity, and I'm failing, and I need to do better, and then every time he tries to do better, he can't because it's just not coming out, and he's failing. And then during a time of weakness, he goes to the darkness. We can identify with something like that kind of a buildup because we're watching the process. We see our own failures in that whole process, and we see how the person is struggling, how he was a good person, maybe he had, morally, some people may not agree, but on the other hand, he's not like he's hurting anybody, and then he does that bad thing, that he crosses that line, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of character that I could now want to read about. Not this high-level overview. And they can't even go into that because there's so much other stuff going on. It's like you thrust them right into the middle of the story without giving a proper beginning. And that's the problem with all of these books. You have all these characters that we don't know anything about. At least Brimstone, does that. We see the troubled kid. We see the kid in his father, suffering and failing, but yet he's trying to do his best. The sister who's working extra hours, working hard. And then you see him going through the process. I want to do well for my family. And then at the wrong moment he meets the devil and he signs the contract. So you can sympathize with him. This nonsense, you can't. That's why this is trash. Man of Steel number 6. Holy crap, did they cop out on this battle. Superman's like, well, I can't beat him because, he's a warlike guy, and, I was thinking maybe I can beat him because I can just keep punching him and eventually he'll either weaken or I will find a way to beat him. So Supergirl comes up and throws him into the neg Phantom Zone. I was just like, holy crap, are you kidding me? And they justify all of this nonsense because they're like, well, the past in Krypton, if somebody did something like this, that is an appropriate punishment. I'm like, oh, and this is the part that drives me crazy. It's not even, one, it's not even a satisfactory ending. Two, what it is it's their thing, this here is the beginning of the story arc that, in the Superman Action Comics thing where the Earth is about to be destroyed and they're trapped in the Phantom Zone. Superman and company are trapped there, and then guess who's in there? Guess who's in there gathering the forces against them? It was this here is just the tool to get him into the Phantom Zone so they can do the rest of to fight some more. And it's like I'm just going, I feel like I'm paying for a commercial. Like not even a complete product. And then you go, well, with Jonathan and the dad, Superman, he was like, I can't let my son go with you. That's just crazy. And then finally Lois goes, I'll go with them because, well, I got a couple books and we'll do this trip and then I can write about the experience. How are you going to freaking write about the experience? Why would a Kryptonian take Lois Lane to all these galaxies? Not, you know what I mean? It's like, what? Now you have to write fiction because you can't write nonfiction. It's got to be, like Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica type nonsense. And I just don't know. I mean, this part I meant was good because like they're still arguing, and Jonathan's like, okay, well if Damien comes, that's cool. Just tell him I'm gone, but don't let him go into my dresser drawer, my third drawer in my dresser drawer. And that's all he's laser focused on, that third drawer. And then he's like, oh wait a second, all right, don't worry about it. I fixed it, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. And like, nobody's even caring about this. I mean, he's laser focused on that's his porn. It's like he's focused on the porn stash while the world is burning around him, And it's like that part I thought was funny, but I don't know. So he's gone for the summer. I mean, to me, this is just basically Bendis getting rid of extra characters just so this way he can just focus on Superman and bring in whatever his new characters are. Overall, I'm just like, I'm like torn with this thing. I think, I don't know, I just think, to me it's like you created a doomsday character and then you just conveniently tossed him to the negative zone. There wasn't even a good fight with this guy. And, I don't even care if Supergirl helped because to me this makes sense. Superman and Supergirl fighting him since they're both Kryptonian. But then also, because he destroyed the Fortress of Solitude, he destroyed the Communicator. So why would you keep the Communicator in the Fortress of Solitude? So this way he can keep in touch with his family instead of keeping that in his apartment. That made a lot of sense. It's like Superman spends all of his time in the Fortress of Solitude versus his apartment. But I guess since he doesn't have the family, I guess that's where he was planning on staying. I don't know. It's just stupid. The whole thing is just stupid. Anyways, that's it for this week. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to reading the most. Like, share. We'll have more stuff later. And until next time.